When it comes to bullies, I've had to deal with a few of them. My mother was the biggest bully of my life. I literally have visions of my mother sitting on Satan's throne. When I ran away from home because she tried to control us and manipulate us and used to use a lot of psychological torture on our children. We used to get told that our father wanted to see us. So on a Friday afternoon we'd go and see our father. And we'd be looking forward to it. Like, Daddy's coming, we're going to see Daddy, we're going to see Daddy, going to see Daddy, going to see Daddy. And we get told on a Friday afternoon, your father doesn't want to see you. He doesn't love you, he doesn't care about you. We'd go through that emotional trauma, and then we get to a point on the next week, oh, your father wants to see you now. And we're like, well, why didn't he want to see us last week? We get dropped off, and we say, where were you last week? He says, I was sitting here waiting till 10 o'clock at night. Where were you? And we're like, well, Mummy told us that you didn't want to see us. And he's like, well, I was here till 10 o'clock. Who was the liar? Who was telling the truth? Which truth was the lie? Which lie was the truth? So, kind of made me grow up and understand that I don't believe what I'm told, but I've gone up against a few bullies in my life. Year 9, my father, my grandfather, my mate's mum, my mate's dad were all called into the school principal's office. And they tried to convince all of my parents and my mate's parents that me and my best mate shouldn't hang out together. They didn't realise that I hung out at my best mate's place for dinner most nights. His father used to call me Two-Son, number 2 son. I treated his little sister like my little sister, and his mum and dad were like my mum and dad. My mate's mum, if you ever hear me refer to mum, that's who it is. Mum, the ultimate mum. Now he tried to convince everyone that we were a bad influence on each other. Well, Mum stood up and protected me, defended me, like a mum should, and literally taught him a new one. We used to hang out. She was the actual reason that I didn't end my life, because I was going through so much grief, trauma and chaos that I was ready and thought about it on long periods of time to end my own life. And the only reason I didn't, because of Mum. Now, this school principal, he tried to bully a lot of kids. And I remember one of the boys at school, our history teacher used to give him 6 of the best on each hand every lesson. He'd just walk out there, 6, 6, no dramas. One day, this teacher broke the rules, put his hand right behind his head and jumped. Brought down the cane, as he did, guy in my class, grabbed the cane, snapped it in half, looked the history teacher in the eye and said, if you fucking hit me again, I'll kill you. He never got the cane again. My school principal used to try and bully all sorts of people. A little bit of karma came back on him because his own son stood on the stood on the platform at Gosford train station and waited for the Newcastle Express and then walked out in front of him. Apparently it took hours to clean up the mess. Now, another kid that he bullied, as he came out to announce to the school and the quadrant what was going on, this boy started a chant. It went like this. Apparently the principal had a nervous breakdown. That's what happens when you pick fights with people. It comes back on you. Now, I've had to work with a guy, and I remember the very first day, he walked up to me and says, "What's your ass, mate?" I'm like, "Why's that?" He goes, "We're Greek." "What's your ass?" One day he had the shits. Turned around to me and he says, pulls up a number 3 screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, and says, "How about I put this through your chest? It ain't going to kill you, but it's going to hurt like a bitch for a month." To which I replied, "Well, if I'm off for a month, I'm going to have to go work cover. My boss is going to have to pay me out because I'm at work. I'm going to need a month off. Work cover is going to get involved. My work cover is going to go your boss's work cover. Your boss is then going to come down on you. Your boss is then going to say, hey, I want nothing to do with this. This was just someone that was doing something outside of, what to do. And then they're going to charge you for attempted murder or grievous bodily harm. But don't worry, mate, your ass will only hurt for a month when you go to prison. I've had employers try to stand over me, dictate to me, all sorts of things. One particular company I worked for, girlfriend at the time, relationship, she used to work at nights. I got told that I had to work in the city at 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, no, I'm not. It's her night off. I'm not going to bed early for you. Didn't go to work early. Boss then came down on top of me. If you don't play the game, we'll stand over you and tell you what to do. We'll be on your ass like you wouldn't believe. To which, 9 o'clock, I made 3 phone calls. By 12 o'clock, I had 3 job offers. I went home, wrote out the most disgusting resignation letter I could possibly write, stating that the only reason that I was leaving the company, I enjoyed the people that I worked with, had great relationships with them, but the only reason was I was forced to because the boss was coming down on me. That's an unfair dismissal. For the next week, she was very, very nice to me. Now, I've got a lot of girlfriends that have great relationships with. One particular time, I was at a youth centre disco. I was only about 15 or 16 at the time, and 3 boys came up to me, and I was from Kincumber. Went up to Gorican, and they said, are you from Wyong? I said, no, I'm not. And so well, you reckon you're from Wyong? I said, mate, I'm from Kincumber. To which one of the guys pushed me, so I pushed back. Next thing you know, fist came in from over the top. 5 guys beating the living crap out of me. Turns out I actually got kicked in the head so many times, had double vision for 2 weeks, and got my tooth knocked out again. So, sitting down with one of my girlfriends, and she said, I got a sore foot. I'm like, why's your foot so sore? And she said, well, we all of us saw the 5 guys on top of you, so we all just ran in and started beating the shit out of them to get them off you. And one guy was laying on the ground, so I ran in and I kicked him in the head. I said, well, why's your foot sore? She goes, because I wasn't wearing any shoes. So, I had a few run-in with bullies, but I always had people to stand up for me and look after me. People behind the scenes, people behind the curtains, mates that will always look out for you. And the number one thing in this world is mates, because mates will always stand by you. You should always stand up for your kids, you should always stand up for your mates, you should always stand up for your girlfriends, and more importantly, stand up for your partner, and always back and defend the people that you love. So, we'll go a little more into detail at a later stage, but when it boils down to it, don't pick a fight, but stand up for it. Stand up for yourself, stand up for the people that you love. At one point in my life, me and a couple of mates were riding through a shopping centre while it was being constructed. Snuck in under the fence on BMXs, amazed at what was going on this big construction site. Next thing you know, this guy, you hear this car coming through, 1,000,000 miles an hour, an old Charger. Screeches, handbrakies, all sorts of things. He jumps out of the car, big handbrake, he does the whole Starsky and Hutch thing, jumps out, says, you want to get shot with a 38 bullet? I looked at my mate, looked at my other mate, and went, no. Like, what sort of question is that to ask a 15-year-old kid? Mate, when you're 15-year-old, man, the right question is, you want a couple of cones, mate? You want a beer or two? You want a scotch and a coke? Not, do you want to get shot with a 38 bullet? Turns out later, I was sitting around and this guy, this security guard, was telling me that he was going through an area, a park, and this guy was a wanted felon and armed. He's gone through this park trying to find him, and this felon has come up behind him, put a gun to his head. I said, do you want to get shot? He said it was the most scariest thing in his life. And I just looked at him and said, well, now you know how the fuck I felt. So, another time I had a run-in with a bouncer. And this bouncer was a dickhead, interfered with my life. And I decided to take him outside. This bouncer got to the point where he says, Herbie, you're angry, swing at me. To which I crossed my arms and said, I'm not violent, why would I swing at you? This upset this bouncer so badly, I've never seen a 5-year-old chuck it. bigger tantrum. This guy did a song and dance that would make any 5-year-old look mature. I was then telling someone I met about this, and he said to me, Herbie, I used to do a lot of heavy security guard with dogs and sidearms. He then explained to me that he went on to the military and became a sniper in the Oz military. And he was telling me one story that one night he was out and a couple of kids came up in front of him. The dog arcs up. The dog's barking his head off, so he's held the dog, right? And for some reason felt as though someone had come around behind him to get his sidearm. So he's reached down beside him, made sure that it was safely clipped in, and then stood his ground. He was later then pulled up on charges in front of a judge. Basically, his dog went off at him and he reached for his gun, which is assault. So he explained to me that if a police officer or a security guard ever has your dog go off at you or your sidearm, touch their sidearm, you can have them sued for assault. They may even lose their job. Now, I then told him about this bouncer, and he turned around to me and said, Herbie, I haven't even told my wife that I'm a sniper in the Australian military. Bouncers like that do not deserve to exist in society today. Where does he work? I think he was offering to have a word with him. Now, one particular New Year's Eve, house I lived at, we were all pretty drunk and we decided to do the 21 bum salute. We all ran out front, whole line of us, 21 of us, just lined up, dropped our pants and mooned passing cars. At one point we decided, well, we'll go across the road to the bus shelter across the road, and we all tried to get up on top of the roof. At this point, a cop car comes along, coppers, woo! They're like, hey guys, New Year's Eve, mate, you want a drink? They're like, guys, it's late, please, if you wouldn't mind, could you please get down from the bus shed? You know, it's New Year's Eve, we know you haven't just had to have a good time, but it's been a long night. And we're like, oh mate, I want a drink, eh? You want a drink? Guys, please. So we've all got down off the bus shed, walked across the road, 6 lanes of traffic, walked across the road, 3 in the morning, wasn't too bad, got across the road. One of the boys jumps up on top of the bus shed. He'd been laying down nice and low, and he goes, hey, you forgot me, eh? To which the copper just went, get the fuck down right now, it's been a long night. Could have had him charged for assault, but it was New Year's Eve, we understood. Coppers, yeah, we were pretty pissed. But the coppers handled it pretty well. He's got down, we've all said, thanks guys, sorry about the hassle, no worries. So, bullies and how you handle them and how they try to handle you, you can understand the mind and the mindset of a bully. When you do, you'll be able to handle pretty much any situation, from bouncers to coppers. Now, one particular night, one of my mates was telling me about how I dealt with this bouncer at a pub very close to where I live. I told him the story. One night, a big islander was hassling him all night, giving him grief, trying to pick a fight with him. Little guy, glasses, but he could defend himself, grew up in Dublin. And he remembered what I said to him. This bouncer grabbed him at one point, tried to grab the scruff of his shirt, and said, he looked at him and said, if you fucking touch me again, I will sue you for everything that you have. The bouncer walked away and didn't touch him at all night. So keep your wits about you. Don't pick fights. Learn how to take control of the situation. Write down their security number, they have to have it, or their badge number, if it's a copper. Write a formal complaint, send it to your local hotel, to the licensee or the manager, or even the actual owner of the hotel, club or establishment. If you don't get any results, send it to the local police. If you don't get any results, send it to the Pubs and Hotels Association. Learn how to bounce the bouncers without getting hurt.